And of course, as she became quite difficult, the threat of what would happen to her children would also be made. This is information that is coming out now that her family have been able to glean during conversations with her. And while the governments plead ignorance, human rights groups continue to pilot the evidence. Human rights groups, including cage prisoners, which is starting to focus a lot of its work in Pakistan, because unfortunately, although cage prisoners was set up to throw a spotlight on Guantanamo, unfortunately many of the roads from Guantanamo lead back to Pakistan, and Pakistan does seem to be the arena for many of these crimes, or the origins of many of these crimes. We know from witness accounts from former Bagram detainees that Dr. Aafia Siddiqui was held in Bagram. Binyan Mohammed sat and watched my documentary In Search of Prisoner 650, in which we try and examine methodically, who is this woman, where is she from? And at the end of the documentary, Binyan said to me, I know exactly who prisoner 650 is. He said, she is Dr. Aafia Siddiqui. I immediately rang up the Pentagon and spoke to Lieutenant Colonel Mark Wright, because they are continually in denial that there are any women in Bagram, and he said to me that this eyewitness account was not true, and I said, but he is not alone. We have many eyewitness accounts about this woman whose screams, continual screams, still keep people awake tonight. You know, Mozambique wakes up in the middle of the night because he hears the screams of this woman who was held in Bagram. But the Americans are in denial. And as I said to Lieutenant Colonel Mark Wright, do I believe you and your country, the administration which brought us weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Or do I believe a man who was tortured for 7 years because he refused to tell a lie, because he refused to sign a false confession? I said it's a no-brainer. I know who I believe, and Lieutenant Colonel Mark Wright at that point put the phone down on me. We know from Aafia's own sworn testimony that she was held in Bagram. We know from her descriptive accounts that some of them have been made public, some of them haven't been made public, but we know that she has corroborated the fact that she was held in Pakistan, that she was held and detained in black sites, and that she was held in Afghanistan and Bagram. And I have been doing a lot of work for cage prisoners highlighting this, and one of the things that I have been doing is going to America frequently to try and educate people over there what has been done in their name. And I've used the evidence that I have picked up over the last few years to raise this in America. The reason I was able to come to you today at such short notice is that I've now had my visa revoked by the United States and have been told that I am not allowed into the United States. Why are they so afraid of the truth? Why are they so afraid of this case? What is it about this case that has some very powerful people in very powerful places very nervous, that they will do anything that they can to stop the truth getting out? Well, they'll have to shoot me if they want to shut me up. Not that I'm challenging them on that. The crime that is even bigger than the specific human rights violations is the sanctioned terror that prevents any challenge. A challenge to secret detentions is labelled as support for terrorism. Many perpetrators are given immunity for their actions. We know that from Barack Obama going to the CIA and saying, I'm not going to have anyone who was involved in torture prosecuted. The powerful can plunder, kidnap, torture and prosecute to protect their interests, but they are exempt from prosecution. Now that we'll go to the emergence period, and this was quite interesting because Aafia emerged 10 days after I went to Pakistan and gave a press conference on behalf of caged prisoners. And I was asking the Pakistani media to help me find prisoner 650. I asked them to do what they could to find out who is this Pakistani woman who has been held in Bagram. Her Excellency Ann Patterson, the US ambassador in Islamabad, said I was a fantasist, that I was making things up, that America did not have women in Bagram. But the Pakistani media started digging, they started doing their job. Lord Nazir Ahmed, I enlisted his help. He started writing letters, and Imran Khan gave me the platform in Pakistan to make a lot of noise and shake a few branches to see what would happen. And what happened? 10 days later, Aafia Siddiqui appeared in Ghazni. She was in the custody of the Afghan police on an anonymous tip. And what we were told was that this Al-Qaeda mum, as she was nicknamed by the tabloid media, rocked up in Ghazni carrying a handbag containing several different types of explosives, the anarchists' cookbook, pictures of the New York skyline with various buildings, including the Empire State Building, and a thumb drive with all sorts of chemical formulas, perfectly handwritten in her writing. She was drugged and she was dazed. We've all seen that iconic picture of her slumped to one side, that picture there. I think many of us, when we first saw that picture, thought this is what she looked like after she was shot. This picture was taken before she was shot. That picture shows her just a few hours into Afghan custody. She was drugged, abused, in a fragile state before she was picked up by the Afghan police. And what we've been able to establish is that she was driven from Bagram by her US handlers down to Ghazni, and she was told to stand outside the prison governor's home in Ghazni. And she was told, if you want to see your children, you must not move from there. And she was standing there on her own. Her son wasn't with her at this point. And there she was, standing on her own, in a confused state, fearful, having been locked away for 5 or so years. And then she saw a mosque, and she was drawn to it. And I think the very fact that she went towards the mosque probably saved her life, because I think what was supposed to happen was that she was supposed to have been shot on the spot as she waited outside the governor's house. It would have been a good story. Al-Qaeda terrorist armed with chemicals and explosives and chemical formulas. Her name probably would